This is a weird one to talk about. It's not really bad per se, but I don't know if I'd go so far as to say that it's good. It's admirable and ambitious, definitely, and it earns a lot of points for being an original script, i.e. not based on any other pre-existing media, which already is enough to give it a lot of very good points, but I can't really say that I personally enjoyed it. Which may be unfair for me to say because I've never really been a fan of horror movies in general. I like some horror movies and I appreciate aspects of horror movies, but something about this one just rubs me the wrong way. And that may have more to do with the general direction it goes than it being a horror movie. It has very good performances, very good atmosphere, very good special effects, and manages to be creepy all throughout. But it just doesn't hit me the way I think it wanted to. But honestly, the biggest issue I really have with this movie is I can't talk about it here without spoiling it. So I'm gonna have to do this. If you are in any way interested for seeing this movie for whatever reason, then I would recommend you go ahead and skip to this time mark, because I'm gonna have to spoil the absolute hell out of this movie in order to better clarify my reasons for my judgment on it. But if you don't care about spoilers, then by all means, keep watching and let me take you down the rabbit hole, so to speak, okay? Okay, let's begin with the basic story. The main story follows a young stockbroker named Lockhart, played by Dane DeHaan, whom some of you may remember from this movie. Anyway, Lockhart here is sent by his superiors to retrieve the CEO of a major stock corporation from a high-end luxury healthcare spa in Switzerland. The main attraction to this particular health resort is the water they use is apparently so pure that it's able to completely clarify people's health, hence why they use a whole lot of old-fashioned water treatment. But upon arriving at the health resort, he ends up in a massive car accident which breaks his leg, and thus is forced to stay at the resort until he recovers. But throughout his stay, he discovers that the resort is not exactly all that it appears to be, and over time discovers a very dark, disturbing secret. He also discovers that the mystery of the resort is somehow connected to this strange young girl named Hannah, who the main doctor, played by Jason Isaacs, villain, come on, all of you were thinking it, treats as if she was his own daughter. This will be important later on. And thus ends the spoiler-free section of this review up until the aforementioned time mark. So, final warning, spoilers are coming ahead in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the mystery of the story turns out to be all about power, purity, and incest. Yeah, it's one of those. Turns out that about 300 years ago, there was a baron who was obsessed with ensuring that he had an absolutely pure bloodline. And he figured that the only way to ensure that was to marry his sister. What? Just bear with me for a minute, okay? However, his sister kept turning out deformed child after deformed child, so the Baron decided to try and conduct experiments on the villagers in order to find a cure. Throughout his experiments, he discovered that the water in the mountain has the ability to prolong life, but it has to be extracted from human subjects, as the water itself on its own is just toxic. Don't ask me how that science is supposed to work, I honestly don't care. Anyway, needless to say, the villagers got fed up with the Baron killing their own people, so they revolted by burning his wife/sister alive, and this is where it gets a little more gross.
Attention. Due to the content standards of YouTube, and because this scene description is just plain sick, any visual depictions of the following scene are very discouraged. Also, Norman just doesn't want to show any. So, please just listen carefully.
They cut the fetus out of his wife and threw it into the water, which survived by being cared for by the minerals and vitamins and goodness of the water and eels. Bear with me, we're almost through this. Now here's where the twist of the movie comes in. Turns out the evil doctor is actually the Baron, who has prolonged his life by taking the specialized vitamin water as extracted from his human subjects. And he's also been feeding it to his daughter. And once his daughter finally reached maturity, having taken the cure water from a younger person rather than the old people that they've been living off of for 300 years, he is now ready to expand his bloodline by deflowering his daughter. I am so sick right now. This storyline is so unbelievably messed up and sick that it just doesn't do anything for me. I can't tell if it's supposed to be a commentary on something or if it's just there for shock value, but it's not just scary, it's sick. And again, yes, it's portrayed very villainous as it ought to be, but that doesn't mean that it has to be a plot point that we see. It ended up going the exact same direction as Don't Breathe, where it starts out with a really good idea for a movie, but then it devolves into something so sickeningly stupid that I can't help but not encourage people to see it. And what really makes me the most angry about that is that I hate having to discourage this movie because, again, it's at least making an effort to be something original. Well, quote unquote. Despite all of that, I still want to encourage people to see it, if for no other reason than to give it the amount of box office boost that it will need to encourage Hollywood to keep doing more original scripts, no matter how unusual or unpleasant they may be. If we don't tell Hollywood that we need more originality in their movies, we're going to run out of things to adapt. And I think we're already seeing the early signs of that. So if you think you can handle the utter strangeness and ugliness that this movie has, I would say please just go see it for the sake of giving it your box office money so as to encourage more originality in Hollywood. But if you'd rather not do that, but you're still interested in seeing it, then I would highly recommend you wait for it to come out on video. And furthermore, if you're really in the mood for a decent spooky house movie, watch Shutter Island. It's basically the same movie, but doesn't have anything in it that will make you go, ew. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm TheNorm, telling you when Hollywood gets things wrong and when they get things right. Thank you all very much for watching.